Hello, everyone. My name is Cal, and I'm the Managing Director of Mount Royal University's Growth Catalyst program. First, I want to wish you all a happy new year. Welcome to 2021. I'm so glad to have 2020 over and behind us, and I'm excited for what the new year is going to bring. Thank you for joining us today for the third installment of the Growth and Resiliency Speaker Series, which is brought to you by Mount Royal University's Growth Catalyst program in partnership with Alberta Innovates, the province's innovation engine. I'm really excited about today because it is a topic that is close and near and dear to me. Innovation, what strategy looks like in a world of disruption. To explore this topic, we're going to have the one and only Shawn Kanungo. Shawn is a disruption strategist. He's been recognized nationally and globally for his work in the innovation space after 12 years at Deloitte. Shawn's mandate at the firm was to help corporate executives better understand and plan for the opportunities and threats associated with disruptive innovation. Now, as a partner of Queen and Brook Capital, Shawn helps organizations adopt exponential strategies to the digital age and has worked hand-to-hand with hundreds of organizations on their journey to digital transformation. Shawn has been recognized as one of Avenue Magazine's top 40 under 40 and was named one of Inc.'s 100 most innovative leadership speakers in 2018. His work has been featured in Forbes, the Globe and Mail, The Guardian, CBC, and CTV. So please join me to welcome Shawn Kanungo.
Wow. Well, listen, at least one clap. Thank you so much, Khaled. I really appreciate you being here today with us in this theater. My name is Shawn Kanungo. I spent my entire career really in the strategy innovation space, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about this whole concept of innovation. And we are here, by the way, at the Meyer Horowitz Theater here in Edmonton, and we have a couple people here. We have Khaled's family here. This is the extent that you can bring people in a lockdown. So thank you. We're going to be talking about this whole idea of innovation, and it's going to be a fast and furious hour, I promise you. But to make it really engaging and interactive and immersive, I need your help. I need your help. I need you to go in the chat. You can comment. You can put insights. I'm going to ask you questions during this conversation, and I want you to put in your responses in that chat on this platform. And I want to thank, by the way, Khaled for being here, because Khaled is he's the managing director of Growth Catalyst, and I know there's lots of people within the Growth Catalyst program. These are a number of companies that are part of this unbelievable initiative that Khaled and the entire team have put together. And we also have people from the broader innovation ecosystem, because originally, Khaled, when I heard about this and you asked me to come here, it was only supposed to be the Growth Catalyst, but you've netted the presentation more widely to get more people, and now there's so many people in this. So can you just tell the audience a little bit about what is Growth Catalyst all about?
Yeah, so the Growth Catalyst is an accelerator program that is based out of Mount Royal University, and we work with growth-focused companies. So any company that is past the startup stage, they would join the program. It's a 6-month-long program. Each month, we teach them a specific concept in their life journey. So the coach, the compass, customer, channel, their operating model, and essentially help them build a strategic growth plan that they can execute against over the next 3 to 4 years. The objective is that each company that comes in realizes a growth of at least 20 to 30% year over year for about 3 years.
Well, listen, I think it's a fantastic initiative that you guys have put together, and this presentation is very much geared towards them. But if there are folks that are part of the broader Alberta innovation ecosystem, I think you're going to get a couple things away from this. Now, just to start, I want to get the ball rolling and engage in the chat. So the first question I have to everybody in the audience is this. It is what is your number one bold prediction for 2021? What is your number one bold prediction for 2021? Put it in the chat. Khaled will take a look at the responses. Now, I had a bunch of bold predictions for 2021, and I was thinking about them all last week, and then this happened yesterday, and now it's like my entire brain has been frazzled. I don't even know what's real anymore. And not only this, but then I learned that my two favorite people on the planet, Kanye and Kim, there might be a divorce. I don't know. I know that's what everybody has been talking about. But my favorite picture so far for 2021 is this. 2020, showing 2020 around the workplace. That's probably been my favorite so far. I don't have any, I'm going to get to what my predictions are, but I'll just say this about 2020. I love 2020. Got to spend more time with my little kitties. I got a 4-year-old named Maya. I got a 1-year-old named Dion. This was us during Christmas. And I'm just happy to be in this theater because, the 2 weeks, I think they're happy to get me out of the house for a little bit. So that's a little bit about me. Kyle, what are people saying in the responses about 2021? And then I'll get to my bold prediction.
So we've got someone who said that the Kanye Kim thing cut him really deep. so we've got that. There is digital transformation in tourism.
Yep.
Alberta will rapidly become a place to start a tech business.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, and where you live doesn't matter anymore.
And what about you? What is your bold prediction for 2021? Do you have one?
My bold prediction for 2021 is similar to what I just mentioned. Is where you live won't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And we can live where we want and work where we want, and we no longer. If we want a Silicon Valley job, we don't have to be in Silicon Valley to get it.
Yeah, well, that segues really great into my prediction, which is actually really against yours, which I think in 2021, I believe that most organizations will realize that working from home is actually bad for long-term innovation. Not for efficiency and productivity and getting stuff done, for long-term innovation. Of course, working from home has been really great. Everybody's been really productive and efficient. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you get to your laptop, you're there. I mean, it's been great. But you also don't have to drive in traffic and sit down at your desk at 8 o'clock and just make that morning rush. You don't have to do that anymore. It makes sense. It's more efficient. Everybody knows this. It's more efficient. But part of innovation is ideas and people coming together, collaborating. It's when you're at the office and Sally comes up to you and she's like, "Hey, Shawn, I got a way that we can optimize sales," and you're like, "I want to connect you with Barry." It's part of those collisions that actually matter. And the reality is that innovation is hard enough. It requires collision and energy and momentum, and it requires those collision. And that's why I really love what you guys are doing at Growth Catalyst, because even though you're doing it virtually, you're combining people within Growth Catalyst from the program virtually. You're getting them connected, having that cross-pollination, which is great. I just think that organizations will realize that this is bad for long-term innovation. So that's what I'll say to that. But we can debate this a little bit later. On that note, there's a number of really great companies in Growth Catalyst. I'm just going to get a quick shout out to the Edmonton company 126 Design. They're creating these great pods. You can have individual pods or a pod just like this. And this is what I need. This to me is like the future, having people together in private pods, collaborating, ideating, or just having in your house, just escaping your kids, whatever you need. 126 Design, thank you for all the work that you guys are doing in this cohort, and I can't wait for this company to blow, so it's going to be great. Now, this conversation is going to really be a disruption. I really believe that disruption is opportunity. Pre-pandemic, we were seeing the greatest era of change because of all of these accelerating technologies coming together, and now because of the pandemic, it's just accelerating everything. But what we have noticed through every single period of innovation and disruption is that when there is disruption, there is opportunity. There are new organizations, there's new ways of working, there are new industries. And for the organizations within Growth Catalyst, I believe that this is an amazing time for us to reimagine our organizations. For most of the 6 companies within Growth Catalyst, they are, by the way, what's the website to Growth Catalyst so they can see the cohorts?
Growthcatalyst.ca.
Growthcatalyst.ca. You can take a look at all the amazing companies in the cohort. They span from 5 years to about 100 years, and I think it's a great time to reimagine, right? So we're going to do a couple things today. We're going to be talking mainly about how Alberta can build their swagger, how these growth companies can really build their swagger and be known globally for what they're doing. And the agenda for today is this: we're going to talk about this idea of contagious innovation, which I'm really passionate about. We're going to talk about a concept known as an innovation capital, cultural capital, and fundamentally about disrupting yourself. Now, if you disagree with me during this presentation, fantastic, because I actually disagree with myself. This presentation might be fundamentally obsolete in about 6 months. The reality is I spent my entire career in strategy innovation, helping organizations with a blueprint of how to go about things, like a SWOT analysis and like a 2x2 and a Porter's five forces. All of these things have now, with peace and love to anybody who's a business school instructor, all of these things have become irrelevant now. Those things were built in the linear age. They were built in a world of scarcity. And now we are living in a world of abundance, anomalies, and algorithms. And all of those models break. And if you're looking for a playbook around innovation, there is none anymore. There is no playbook for innovation in an exponential world. It's just about asking different questions and looking at what's happening around the world. So that's what we're going to do today. And I know everybody who's been part of this, some of the people who joined this conversation, they want to know about how do we spur our innovation ecosystem in this province. And the first question I want from you, and I want us to crowdsource some ideas because I don't have all the answers, and I know there's some way smarter people in the chat that can provide us with some answers, is this. I want you to ask this first question, which is, what is the one way that we can spur the innovation ecosystem in Alberta? What is the one way that we can spur the innovation ecosystem in Alberta? Put it in the response. I want to see what everyone has to say. This question, by the way, is near and dear to my heart because I've been part of many projects, many committees and panels talking about how we can build an innovation ecosystem in Alberta. And consistently, I see these things come up. And you might have the same ideas. Things like diversification and reskilling and lowering our taxes and having better access to capital and networks. And this is why here over and over the last decade at least, this is what I've heard. And so, Khaled, just tell me, is there anybody in the chat that will say anything different to this? Perhaps there are. I don't know.
So we've gotten a few responses actually, like pretty active. There's the normal like attracting capital, but I've seen a couple that are quite interesting. It's investing in post-secondary, bringing in more companies that are named companies or flagship companies to the ecosystem, changing government funding, increasing taxes, grants. Yeah.
Get rid of Jason Kenney, LOL. Hey, listen, this is sponsored by Alberta Innovates for a second. We're not going. We'll leave that till later. Come on, listen. I want to go to Hawaii too. No, okay. Let's keep. So those are some really great responses.
Yeah.
Now this is going to sound really blasphemous and controversial, especially because there's lots of people helping build this innovation ecosystem in Alberta, and thank you for everyone doing that. Here's my idea on how we can do this by looking at other innovative organizations, other innovative ecosystems, something that no one wants to talk about because it's uncouth to talk about it. I really believe that in order to build an innovation ecosystem, we need inequality. Let me repeat. In order to build an innovation ecosystem, we need inequality. Now let me explain. I think Eugene Wei puts this really well. He's a great thinker where he studies this idea of status, and he agrees that we are status-seeking monkeys. It is hardwired within us to think about status. And I believe that one of the most underrated tools for creating value and developing powerful ecosystems is exploiting our obsession for status. And listen, I'm Indian, I'm Hindu. We love status. This is like built into our DNA. The entire caste system, the Hindu caste system, we built that. We've discriminated against everyone in order to rank everyone within our religion, right? I remember asking my mom, I said, where do we fall in the Hindu caste system? She's like, we are the Buddha. She actually looked up from her iPad and she got her entire body changed. She's like, we're the Buddha. I'm like, what is that? She's like, we're the highest caste. Oh, I'm like, oh my God, we're the highest caste. That's great. I'm like, are we warriors? Are we pioneers? Are we like business leaders? And she was like, no, we don't do anything. I'm like, oh, okay. So anyways, we built this imaginary caste system. Anyways, we're hardwired to think about status. And if you look at every single organization, superpower organization, they all have embedded this idea of status hunting. If you look at Uber, for example, they started by leveraging black cars in San Francisco, status. Facebook started by, you can only sign up originally using a Harvard email, status. SoulCycle started by an invite-only system, then they attracted stars, status. In fact, if you look at the creators of Musical.ly and now TikTok, the head of TikTok, Alex Zhu, he likens this idea of creating a centralized economy and this idea of creating new land. In order to create new land, what you need is to create a little bit of inequality so that you actually get some really talented people and some inspiring people that might inspire the rest of the group to come in. And he talked about this in a video. Now, I'm gonna drop this video, but his English is not his first language, but I think what he says is really compelling, so I'm just gonna drop it right now.
In the early stage, building a community from scratch is like you just discovered a new land. You give it a name, America. And you want to build economy, you want to build population, and you want people from Europe to migrate to your country, right? And Instagram is Europe. Facebook is Europe. How can you do it? Economy in Europe is already very developed. And in your country, there is no population, there is not so many things going on, there is no economy. How can you attract those people to come in? The problem with Europe is the social class is already stabilized. For average citizen, they have almost zero opportunity to go up in the social class. So now you have a new land. A very important thing is, in the beginning, you have to build a centralized economy, meaning that from wealth distribution point of view, you make sure majority of the wealth is distributed to a small percent of people to make sure these people get rich first, okay? And then these people became role model for other people living in Europe. And they see, hey, this is a normal guy, and he just went to America and he became super rich. I can do the same, right?
Now, I know this sounds blasphemous, to build incredible inequality, it actually might inspire others to jump on board. What you want to do is for somebody to say, wait a minute, she did it, I can do it as well. We are trained to believe in systems and data structures and features and benefits, but so much of innovation is asking the question is, what is the emotional benefit of us actually doing this? And I believe that in a world of abundance, scarcity and status becomes so much more important. And this is why I believe in this idea of contagious innovation. Contagious innovation is this idea that by building amazing things, we can inspire others to jump on board on our journey, right? It can not only, this idea of contagious innovation can not only help our organization grow, but it can create new markets, new industries, and new entrepreneurs. If you look at, for example, what Shopify has done in Ottawa and Toronto, which has been unbelievable, like they've built a juggernaut for themselves, and it's inspired so many people within their ecosystem to be part of that journey. They're building their own companies, and of course, Shopify is helping companies around the world, build up their e-commerce capabilities. I mean, it's amazing. If you look at something like PayPal as well, PayPal has spawned so many other companies because they were so inspiring themselves. Companies like LinkedIn and Palantir and Tesla, I mean, it's all spawned from PayPal. So it's the idea, but how can we create an innovation that is so awe-inspiring that it literally spawns other entrepreneurs, it literally spawns other companies to come up. So I really believe that, this is the beauty of Growth Catalyst, because I think what you're doing, Khalid, with your cohorts is you're going to be building these behemoths that actually will inspire others and literally build this innovation ecosystem because they will have the resources. So that's what I really love about it. And here's some of the ways that we can build a more contagious innovation, because I think it's more difficult to do today than any other time, because our attention is now all over the place, and now we've finally moved into this virtual world. Every single product or service that you can think of now has an online and offline component. And so it's if you think about healthcare or commerce, retail, I mean, even dating, everything has an offline and online component. And the reason why I'm mentioning this and why it's so hard to get people's attention is because when things are ubiquitous and digital and easy and seamless and 24/7, and we can just access it on our phones or computers, what happens is the value of what we deliver actually becomes commoditized. It actually becomes less valuable. And so I think one of the ways that we can create a differentiated experience, one of the ways that we can create greater magic is one of these things, one of these ways, which is called costly signaling. Let me explain this idea of costly signaling, which is part of contagious innovation. Costly signaling is this idea that by putting in more effort, it can actually translate into greater value and significance. I mean, this is why, for example, a handwritten note, even with the same content as a text message, if you deliver both of them, the handwritten note is just going to land a little bit more. This is why wine in a heavier bottle, I know it sounds crazy, but wine in a heavier bottle will, for some reason, it's perceived to taste better than a wine in a lighter bottle. I mean, this is why we're doing this Zoom meeting or this webinar here in this theater, and this is why there's this piano here, and this is why Khaled's here, and we got this production crew, and we're in this theater. Listen, I know I could be doing this thing in my house. I know I could be doing this in my sweatpants, but I didn't. We're here. And the crazy part is that because we're doing it here, the message is going to land a little bit more with you. I know it's crazy because over the last 10 months you've been watching people and they look like they're in an ISIS hostage video. But this looks a little bit different. And what this signals to you is I put in a little bit of effort, and for some reason, because of that effort, the message is going to land a little bit more. I know it sounds crazy. But this is what costly signaling is really all about. And so I really believe that when things are moving fast, as they are right now, virtually, I believe in investing in slow things. I'm not saying like invest in things like dial-up. I'm saying invest in things that are fast or invest in things that are meaningful, magical, and memorable. If you want to build a contagious innovation, if you want to build something awe-inspiring, I think we have to look to see how we can make things more magical for our end customers. So that is my whole piece on contagious innovation. I know it's going to be controversial, but that's what I believe in. So contagious innovation. Now let's go to the next topic, which is really around this idea of innovation capital. And the question that I want to ask to you is, I want to get really deep and personal in the chat. I know everyone is from different organizations, and so just self-reflect. And the question is this: what are the orthodoxies that are holding us back from growth? What are the orthodoxies that are holding us back from growth? Now, orthodoxies are ingrained beliefs of how we look at the world. They are the elephants in the room, things that we believe to be true within our industry, and they're difficult to change. Just put them in the chat. I want to see what you guys have to say. What are the orthodoxies that are really holding us back within our organizations or personally? Put in the chat. I'm really interested to see. As I wait for all the responses, I will say this. In my time working with leaders and executives and walking the halls of many amazing organizations is I think one of the things that really stops people from growth is really their own identity. It's their own expertise. People get really romantic about how they do things, and when the environment changes around them, it becomes very difficult to pivot and move. And you've seen this during the pandemic. The people that have really won, if that's a word, they've been agile, they've been flexible, they've been nimble, and they've had this beginner's mindset. And if you are able to, what I call, drop your tools, drop what you know and your expertise, and sort of go through this process of unlearning, then you will have an opportunity to reinvent yourself, and then you will see that you will be able to unlock even more opportunities. So Khaled, I'm going to come back to you. What are people saying in terms of what are the orthodoxies that are holding people back from growth?
There's been some interesting ones. So organizational structure and bureaucracy,
okay.
The old boys club, social expectations. One that actually kind of resonated with me was just confidence in yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Confidence with yourself. Well, listen, this is a great segue. I'm just gonna look at this chat. By the way, this looks like an ICQ chat right now. If you remember ICQ, risk taking, ideas. It just keeps going. Fear. Oh my goodness. Thank you for all the engagement. You guys are making this even better. I'm going to pick on the idea of confidence because, and I'm going back to what I talked about at the beginning, that Alberta needs more swagger, and I'm born and raised in this province. The only thing that I want us to do is to really build amazing companies. I want my kids to live here. I want my kids' kids to live here. I am born and bred in this province, and I love it so much. And But I say this with peace and love. What I need every single leader in Alberta to do is develop what I call innovation capital. Everybody needs to build their own innovation capital. Let me explain what this is all about. Innovation capital is your ability for others to believe in your ideas and for you to unlock resources in order to make those ideas happen. Innovation capital is so important not only for leaders, but for organizations as well. And it's this idea by sharing innovations and executing against them, you're gonna build this muscle around innovation. Let me give you one example of this. A couple of years ago, I was helping this company called Cummins. Cummins is a very innovative diesel engine manufacturer. And at the time, their market cap was about 25 billion. And when I was working with them, they had just launched the first semi-electric truck. They were really excited about it. They launched this semi-electric truck, super excited about it. And a couple months later, this company came out with their semi-electric truck, and they were at about 42 billion market cap at the time. And guess who got all the love and all the mentions and was able to raise their stock price? Now, Cummins appreciates Tesla and what they've done around moving the narrative around electric vehicles, but they don't understand the market cap. Why is their market cap more than theirs? It actually doesn't make sense. Cummins is a very innovative company. They're doing some amazing things. They have great, deep partnerships. They've been around for almost a century, yet the market cap is nowhere near there. And in fact, if you look at, listen, I'm not here to tell you to invest in anything. I mean, you look at Tesla's market cap, I mean, it's ridiculous. Elon Musk has named today the richest person on the planet. See, what Elon and Tesla have done, they've really built their innovation capital. What does that mean? They share their innovations openly and they execute against it. And by building an innovation capital, not only have they convinced the market that they can do innovative things, but they've also convinced their employees and just the broader ecosystem. They've really built this idea of innovation capital. And if you go on Google Trends and you look at how many times people talk about Tesla innovation versus Cummins innovation, here's Tesla, it's in blue, and here's Cummins, it's in red. It actually pays to share innovations and execute against them. This is the whole idea of innovation capital and just flexing our muscles around it. And I think it's this ability to create a narrative around what we're doing and execute against it. And I think we have some amazing companies within Growth Catalyst that are doing this already. One example is, for example, the Four Seasons Transportation. They're getting amazing accolades. They're building their prowess. Brooke, the CEO, I mean, unbelievable story. Like, started from the bottom, now you're here. Like, she started looking for a job so that she can take her kid to, and then worked her way up, and then bought the company, and then taking it to the moon. So congratulations. Keep flexing those innovation initiatives and those muscles. And that's really what it is all about. It's creating a narrative and just ability to execute against it. It's this idea of building your own innovation capital. So that's that piece. Now, I want to talk about this next piece that most incumbents, most large organizations will scoff at. They won't take seriously because they are, sometimes we can get really arrogant, and this is where we see opportunity. Whenever there are new disruptors, usually we dismiss them, we disregard them, we ignore them, and this is where we see the disruptive companies come out of. And so the question I want to ask to you is this, and I'm really interested in this question actually, which is, what is the one truth that you believe in that no one else believes in yet? What is the one truth that you believe in that no one else believes in yet? And I'm willing to share my truth with you today. And that is this. By the way, I want you to respond to this don't be shy. Just put it in the chat. What is the one truth that you believe in that no one else believes in yet? I know it's disruptive because, not everyone has seen it yet. If it sounds like a bad idea, then that means there's something disruptive there. Here is my idea, which is I believe that the next wave of innovation is not technological at all, but it is really cultural. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But if you see the innovators and the entrepreneurs that are going to be winning over the next decade, it's because they have developed this idea of cultural capital, which I'm going to talk about. It's related to the creator economy. You can call it the passion economy, but I'm going to get into it in a little bit. Khalid, what are people saying? This is a deep question, by the way.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that you believe in that no one else believes in?
People are more important than profits. Interdisciplinary education.
Love it.
Microcredits in education. Collaborative democratization.
Listen, the fact that you are hesitating saying it means there's something disruptive there. What about you? Is there any? I know that I'm putting you on the spot, but is there anything that you believe in? I know you're an innovative guy.
Yeah. I think the concept of post-secondary education is going to be broken.
Yes.
And
by the way, shout out to Mount Royal who's sponsoring this as well. Yeah.
Sorry, team.
And by the way, we're at the University of Alberta here. So okay, continue on.
Yeah, and I think it's the pandemic has given us a view for that. Like we homeschool our kids, and our son Nick has been able to access coding classes, connected with the initial designers of the Apple iPod through this, and he's been able to build his own capabilities to a point that like some of my friends who've done post-secondary aren't at in terms of like coding and understanding of like robotic concepts, right? So I just feel like the default concept of education is just about to break.
Woof. Sponsored by Mount Royal, sponsored by University of Alberta. Yes, we are here. No, I agree, and we're gonna. By the way, I've been talking to most of the post-secondary institutions, and they actually agree the same thing. We actually did something with Nate recently, Athabasca University, U of A. They all believe the same thing. So definitely, there's something disruptive there, and we're gonna get into it in a little bit. But here's my idea, which I think. We're seeing already, and maybe you're on board with me, but if you're not, great, because if you disagree with me, that's even better. I believe in this idea of cultural capital. Cultural capital is your ability to build an organic community, and by doing so, you will be able to unlock resources in order to make more of your ideas happen. This is what cultural capital is all about. It is actually the ultimate flywheel creator. Let me give you one example of how somebody has done this. I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Beast. You know Mr. Beast, by the way? You follow Mr. Beast? You love Mr. Beast? When did you get on Mr. Beast? Like 2-3 years ago. He's early in the game, by the way. You know Mr. Beast?
No, I actually.
Okay, well, listen, this is for the kids and me. Mr. Beast is a YouTube creator, okay? He creates really compelling YouTube content. He's the GOAT, or the king of YouTube right now. He creates things like, I'm gonna give you $1 million, but you only have 1 minute to buy, to use my credit card. Or I am going to get a pizza, and I'm gonna tip the pizza guy the house. Just like really interesting, compelling content. So, this sounds childish, right? Great, he's a YouTube creator. Well, a couple weeks ago, what Mr. Beast was able to do was he actually launched 300 restaurants across the U.S. And obviously through like virtual restaurants, he partnered with local restaurants to deliver his burger, the Mr. Beast Burger. Became the #1 app on the App Store, and usurping Facebook's and the Googles. And this shows the power of somebody who has the community, the power of the creator, that they can literally go into another vertical and put a dent into the world. And this is where we're going to, where Mr. Beast might be the first $1 billion YouTuber because he has the power of the community. And with the power of the community, you can basically do anything. And this is an example of this broader trend of the power shifting from institutions to individuals. You're seeing today journalists leaving established media outlets to join Substack, a newsletter subscription site where somebody can just, create their own business on Substack, submitting newsletters. This is why you have somebody like Huda Katan. She was a, vlogger. Now she's got a $1.2 billion beauty empire. This is happening in every single industry. Like you mentioned, Khalid, in education as well, that your son has this ability himself to learn things that other people are not learning in school because, talent is now ubiquitous, content is everywhere. There's this broader shift happening where the balance of power is shifting from institutions to individuals. And if you don't believe this already, if you haven't seen already, if you look today, this is happening everywhere. Bitcoin today is at like $50,000 Canadian versus that's how much it is for one Bitcoin. And you know why so many average Canadians are interested in this? Because the average salary in Canada is $53,000. Guess why they're so interested in Bitcoin today? The world is getting democratized. The pandemic has really exposed this. The individual has a lot more power. This is why we've realized that, listen, everyone is a remote worker. Everyone is accessible. Talent is really ubiquitous. And the punchline is that with many of the behemoths that we always talk about, the reason why they've been able to expand to different verticals and dominate every single industry is because they have technological prowess. But the future is really going to be about who has the audience, who has the community. Let me give you an example of a company that I don't really follow, but I definitely admire the business model, and it's a company called Barstool Sports. Barstool started as a print media publication in 2003 by a guy named Dave Portnoy, and over the years, they've expanded from a sports media site into different verticals because they have built a very organic community by creating a brand, by acquiring talent that adheres to the brand, and because of that, they've been able to expand to different verticals. They're into food, to crypto, to gaming. In fact, if you look at Penn Gaming, that has 36% of Barstool Sports, which they bought recently, their stock just basically moonshotted over the last year because they understand as well that Barstool has that community, right? And the underlying the foundational concept here is that the most precious asset in the world is attention. The most precious asset in the world is attention. And if you haven't realized this today, not only is attention the most precious asset in the world, but it is also the greatest weapon on the planet. I mean, this is why today Mark Zuckerberg said, listen, over the next 2 weeks, until we get a peaceful transition in the States, we're going to be banning Trump. And the reality is that it is a very strong weapon. And so what can I do? Listen, I'm not like a entertainment company. I'm not a media company, which is great. I really believe that what we just need to do is to be fantastically good with a very small group of people, whether it's 10 customers or 100 customers or 1,000 customers. Be contagiously good. Be so good, be so awe-inspiring, and focus on those particular customers. I think that is the piece. If you want to build a very loyal, organic community, because then you can go off and do other things with that. I think there's some ways that we can actually learn from other companies or other industries that are leveraging this idea of cultural capital. Here's some tips. Here's like a machine gun of some tips of how they've done this. Number one is they've mastered the algorithm. So they are creating compelling content. So for example, like a Mr. Beast, he creates these videos which incentivizes watch time. So he's created this like Jenga style of storytelling where you know what's gonna happen at the end, but he wants you to watch throughout, so it incentivizes watch time. You're seeing creators on TikTok do the same thing. They are incentivizing watch time. The idea of the drop is becoming a lot more important as well. This idea of building scarcity and status. You've seen this with companies like GOAT or just sneakerheads, where you say that you're going to drop a particular product or service. Everybody sort of rushes to it because there is built-in scarcity there. You can see it, for example, with Tesla and what they do with the Cybertruck. They have this hype pre-sale where they basically create billions of dollars without even selling the product. Just you can call it hype pre-sales or the drop. You're seeing, people just collaborate with each other to create content. This is why you're seeing these, what they call hype houses or content houses, where you have creators sort of siphoning each other's audiences. That's why you have companies like Rihanna's Fenty, which creates their own a content house, and this is how they're creating content. I mean, this is like the world we're going to, where we're collaborating so much. And it's, another idea is this idea that the lines between media and commerce are blurring. Every single media company wants a commerce arm, and every commerce company wants a media arm. The lines are blurring. This is why you're seeing Walmart wanting to get a piece of TikTok, because they understand that the future of commerce is going to be video. In fact, if you look in China, for example, the Chinese version of TikTok, which is Douyin, and there's another version called Koshao, sort of a competitor to TikTok, they basically integrate video with commerce. So somebody is making a burrito, you can literally look at the video of the burrito and you can just hit buy and the burrito will be sent to you. I mean, it's already happening in some countries. The other piece is today, long form content creators are creating this cult following, and now they can sell anything. So many people are listening to podcasts and they have these AirPods. The audio is a gateway drug to your brain, right? And you're building such a unique relationship with those creators. And so they actually have access to distribution, which I think many companies are realizing in order to leverage growth, because everybody wants a community and audience, but these creators are getting it. So it's how do we partner with them, or how do we build our own creators internally? It's a disruptive concept, I know, but this is going to evolve over the next decade. It's going to be fantastic. In fact, one of the companies in our cohort, Four Eyes, I think they're doing a great job at leveraging this entire new way of going about, whether it's marketing or innovation. They're actually partnering with other creators, whether it's guys like Brian McCullough or Frederick Harlowson. Four Eyes, they provide products to basically the cycling industry, right? A very innovative company. I'll get you to check them out. So, listen, this idea of building cultural capital is going to evolve over the next decade. I believe that it's going to be super, super disruptive. So that's my rant on that piece. What do you think about that, Khaled, as I move to the next piece?
I think there's a lot of lessons learned there.
You know what? I don't like your response. What do you think? What do you do? I'm going to go to your son here. You like that? Okay, never mind. No, did you believe in everything I'm saying there?
Yeah, definitely.
There you go. He's the youth. He's the future. Okay, I believe what he says. Okay, let's keep on going. By the way, the companies within Growth Catalyst, they all want to be large companies, scale-ups, as we want to call them. So the question that I want to ask you, and this is the last piece, which is, what is the biggest obstacle to innovation in large organizations? I know we have some people within large organizations in this chat. So asking this question, you can put it in the chat. What is the biggest obstacle to innovation in large organizations? Put it in the chat. I want to see what everybody has to say. And one of the things that I see with incumbents all the time is the reason why they get disrupted is because they focus on the wrong metrics. They romanticize over the wrong metrics. And the winners, they either find the new metrics or they convince others of the new metrics. So for example, if you look at the home fitness industry, previously the metric that everybody was so romantic about was this idea of equipment sold. How much equipment did I sell to my end customers? Well, then you have a company like Peloton that comes in that fundamentally changes the metric. They're actually looking at how many subscriptions did people buy. In fact, you can actually subscribe to Peloton without even the bike. And they're going to disrupt themselves again. They're working on this whole fitness as a service model where they want folks to rent their bikes at some point so that you have the best equipment at home. And so the metric that they're going to be looking at soon is rental revenue. So it's this idea of what are the new metrics that we should be looking at. And the best way of looking at the new metrics is taking a step back and just reframing the problem. Instead of saying, what new, how much bikes can we sell? The question should be, how might we incentivize greater loyalty with our end customers? So I'm going to come back to you, Khaled, and ask this question. What is the biggest obstacle to innovation in large organizations?
So people have responded with, it's been a busy chat.
Busy chat.
Yeah, busy. Fear of failure, bureaucracy, silos, driven too much from the top. That's just how things are. And blind pursuit of short-term wins have been a few that...
I love that. Well, I don't know what the real answer is, but I know HBR did a study where they looked at what is the biggest obstacle to innovation, and I think they had 1,000 leaders sort of weigh in, and the biggest obstacle they saw was this idea of politics, turf wars, and a lack of alignment. That's what they said. I want to introduce this concept to you because I think if you try to, how's this looking, by the way? My hand, should I just do this? I'll just do my hand. Oh, there you go. Look at this guy, you know, our producer handing me something nice here. Okay, so I want to introduce this concept to you. It's a new way of looking at disruption, and it's called denting the outside. Denting the outside is a new type of disruption strategy where you basically want to create innovations outside of your core business, so that maybe one day they actually become your core, your new core business. And by the way, to be outside here outside of your core business, it's lonely, it's scary, and it's uncomfortable. No one is going to help you, but it pays to actually experiment with new things in order for it to be your new core. Let me give you an example of this. You know, Disney recently, they announced a couple months ago that they are disrupting themselves, that their core business used to be parks, experience, and consumer products. But now they're saying, listen, we've been experimenting with Disney Plus and our direct-to-consumer business. And we've been experimenting with this thing, Disney Plus, and this is actually going to be our new core. That takes a lot of courage and guts to do. But you see, the best incumbents in the world, that's what they've been able to do, is fundamentally disrupt themselves by experiments that they've been running outside of their core. Another example is Adobe. So Adobe, to me, you can put Intuit in that as well, where they literally were selling, if you wanted to get for example, Photoshop, you had to go to like Best Buy or Future Shop to get Photoshop and get it off the shelf. They were experimenting with their subscription service model, where you could get a subscription service to Photoshop. And that was super disruptive for them, and it was very lonely and uncomfortable and scary for them to do that. But this not only did they disrupt themselves, but it became a juggernaut for them. You can look outside of even the private sector. You can even look at government. For example, Brazil, they wanted to Brazil 3.1. I'm like having trouble putting Brazil 3.1. Brazil wanted to digitize all their 311 services because most of them were analog. And so they started to experiment with some of these things outside. They saw that they got a big response. And now 98% of their 311 services are now digital. So it's not only just a private sector play, but it's also this, it can be done in the public sector as well. And it's this whole idea of how can we continuously think about disrupting ourselves? How can we dent the outside, experiment with things with very small problems, very small teams, very small sprints, and fundamentally disrupt ourselves in order for it to become our new core? And here is the reality, is that transformation starts when you start by doing the possible, and then you end up doing the impossible. This is what disruption is really all about. And I think the best companies have realized this. And I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation that you realize is that maybe I don't have a company. Maybe I'm working for a company, okay? My best advice to you is, even as a leader, as an executive, as an intern, is to figure out how can I disrupt myself personally? How can I experiment with things that might change my own skills or my mindset? This is the whole idea of disruption and transformation. Now, before I get to the end, I want to tell you this, is that if you want the slides to this thing, I don't know if you're providing it. You can connect me with me on LinkedIn. You can ask me some questions. I will answer you within 48 hours. If I don't, I'm a terrible person. But I will leave you with this. I'm born and raised in Edmonton, in Alberta. The only thing that I want is for us to build an innovation ecosystem here in this province. I believe that this is the gateway for our financial future. We need it. I'm not going to tell you all the reasons why we need it, but we need it. The reality is that we have run our organizations like well-oiled machines. That's why we have organizations with really great processes and structure and 30-minute meetings and cubicles. I mean, it's been fantastic. Fantastic for the industrial age. But we have an opportunity in front of us to build our organizations for this new digital age, for this innovative age, and there is no playbook to it. As I mentioned in the beginning, there is no playbook. But what I believe is that we can use this pandemic as a catalyst to start to reimagine our organizations and how we do work. And so hopefully that we can start reimagining this entire province. And like I said again, I believe so much in this province, and I want us to stay here. I want my kids to stay here, and I want to thank all the companies that are part of this Growth Catalyst cohort. You guys are the ones that are trying to innovate and providing jobs and security to hundreds and thousands of Albertans. So thank you. I want to thank Khalid and the entire Growth Catalyst team. You guys are amazing. So thank you for all that you're doing. You guys are great. With that, I do want to open it up to some questions. We have about 10 minutes left. I do want to open it up to some questions. And what I encourage you to do is in the chat function, just throw in some questions, random questions. And I'm happy to answer anything. And as I wait for your questions, I want to thank the production crew, Neve over there, Mazen, if you want to wave. I don't know where he went. Thank you, family, for coming. You guys were great. They're shaking their head. They're great. Khalid, again, great moderation. But by the way, round of applause for Khalid, please. Couple of round of applauses. Okay, let's go. Questions. We got some questions, Khalid?
So this was actually a question from before that I copy-pasted because I thought it was an interesting one. What about seniors? Innovation seems to be limited to technically elite youth.
Technically elite
youth.
Youth. Well, I actually fundamentally disagree with the question. I believe regardless of age, you can adopt technology, you can have an innovate. I think it's actually more about mindset than anything else. I have met people that are 80 years old that can do some incredible things with their computer and their phone and tech. I've met some young people that are complete idiots. So I don't think it has anything to do with age and technology. And by the way, let me tell you that innovation is not a technology thing. And I'm sorry if I position that as that it is. Innovation is really about looking at our entire business, looking at our process, looking at our talent, looking at our content, our brand experience, our customer experience. It's not just about technology. And so I believe that you can have an innovation mindset without even knowing any technology. And by the way, you just have to empower. Let's say you are a person that you could care less about technology, which is great. All you have to do is empower the people around you that are passionate about it, and they will help you. But what that requires us to do is have some humility, be vulnerable, and ask open questions, and they will help you out. That's what I would say to that.
Thanks, Shawn.
But I thank you for the question. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the question.
Yeah. Another question we had was, what is the first step that an organization can take?
Yeah. So what is the first thing that an organization take? And I believe that I believe that has to be about innovation, right?
Yeah.
So the first step is taking the first step. There's no magic to it. I believe that the best way of creating a culture of innovation is not setting up sorry, because I know you guys set up an incubator accelerator for these, the growth catalyst, which is great. But I don't think any organization needs this. I think in order to create a culture of innovation, you need to start empowering your people to try different ways of doing things. Give people the license to go off and try new things. The beauty about innovation, and the reason why I love innovation, and the reason why I wake up every single morning thinking about it, is because it is literally the most, it doesn't discriminate. It is literally permissionless. And so it is accessible to every single person. And the reality is today is that technology is commoditized, talent is ubiquitous, and by the way, we have access to everything in our fingertips through our phones. And so we're living in this amazing time where we can allow people to try new things. And so what I would encourage you to do is to go off and try an experiment. Go off and try something that you have never tried before. that you think might work or might not work. It's fine. What you want to start doing is building a muscle around experimentation. And by the way, 9 out of 10 times, you're probably going to fall on your face, which is fine. That's the part of experimentation. But you're going to start to build a muscle around experimentation and build a culture of innovation. I think that is the starting point. Don't start with like any innovation, blah, blah, blah. Like just don't put a plan or deck together. Just like start trying something and then sharing that openly within the organization, and you will start to build that muscle.
So this one goes back to one of the big questions that you've asked. And the question is, what are some strategies to stop the turf wars?
What are some strategies to stop the turf wars? Yeah. Like I said again, that is the according to HBR, that is the number one obstacle to innovation, and it is difficult to navigate, right? Especially within organizations. I think the best thing to do when it comes to navigating turf wars, when it comes to innovations, is this idea of, I don't have my marker anymore, so I'm just like moving there, but the idea is communicating more widely. It's sharing your innovations openly. It's inviting people on the innovation journey. Here's the reality. Everyone wants a piece of the innovation journey. Everybody wants to be, they want a back seat or a front seat or a passenger seat to it. And so if we can incentivize people to come on our journey, then you're going to be able to at least decrease the turf wars. And the reason I love the idea of denting the outside is because you're not like impeding on people's core business, right? The idea of experimentation on denting the outside is you can go to somebody and be like, you know what? I'm trying something, and you be nonchalant about it. I'm trying something. It's outside of what we're doing. It's just an experiment. And by framing it as such, it's not as disruptive, right? It's not as people don't get as fearful around it. And so that's what I would say to that. And really, if the turf war, I mean, if you're dealing with some really difficult people within the organization and you can't change them, then either you need to move or you need to wait till they die. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's either or, right? No point working somewhere where you're consistently getting backstabbed, right? That's what I would say.
So this one is a question from myself.
For yourself, okay.
Yeah. So being an innovator isn't like being an engineer or a doctor with specific like technical skills. What are the skill sets that individuals need to build to become innovators?
Yeah, great question. How do you become an innovator? Yeah. And you're absolutely right that it doesn't require technical skills, and it doesn't. That stuff can be learned. I think the best way of being an innovator is, number one, it's really about mindset. It's really having that beginner's mind. I meet people all the time, and they introduce themselves like, I have 20 years of experience in this, or I have 15 years of experience in this. They have such a deep expertise, and expertise is great, but being open to new ideas, being open to new ways of doing things, to me, that is the mark of a good innovator. Somebody who listens, someone who's open to ideas, who's not willing to, who is willing to go off and experiment. And I don't believe an innovator is about coming up with amazing ideas. I think genius is unlimited. The best innovators in the world copy, steal, and remix innovations. I mean, it's not about the genius. Innovation is really about the courage. The world is abundant with genius, and it is very short on courage. And it's this idea of most innovators, most people who are deemed as innovators, they've either made it, right? But the reality is that it's like, how do you reset? How do you reimagine? That is the difficult part to do. That is part of our human nature. It's very difficult to do. And so that's what I would say to that. And just being open. And the last piece, I think, is just to empower others around us to help us, right? As a leader in innovation, you have to step back and say, like, I don't know what the hell this is all about. I don't know what I'm doing. Help me. To me, that's a mark of a great innovative leader. And that's what I would say to that. And so, listen, with that, I want to tell you this. I appreciate everyone's engagement. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to everybody. You can send me a note on social media, on LinkedIn, or wherever else. I really, really appreciate it. I want you to give some love to the Growth Catalyst cohort. They are the ones that this was for, and they're doing an amazing job, and I can't wait to see where they go from the Growth Catalyst to the moon, basically. So thank you so much, and I'm going to pass it over for Khaled for any last words.
Awesome. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you to everyone that's attended. Thanks again to Mount Royal University for pioneering the Growth Catalyst program, and for Alberta Innovates for partnering with us to get the speaker series going. If anyone is interested to rewatch this, see previous ones, just go to our website. It's www.growthcatalyst.ca, and we've got a few more amazing ones coming up in the next few months. Thanks again, Shawn. This was super insightful. It was mind-blowing. I was expecting, I was looking for this, and that's what you delivered. And I'm excited to see what our cohort does, and what other entrepreneurs and folks that were on the call, on the webcast today will do. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.